All right.
Good morning and welcome back to Finding Heroes in Business. My name is Rob Herget. I am the founder and president of Boost Your Business, as well as a number of other businesses, and I am the host for the show. I've been in business for 40 years and met some extraordinary people doing extraordinary things, and I'm excited to share one of those heroes with you today. We've got a very special guest, Jeff Fullington. And Jeff, let's get the conversation started. Tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing.
Hi, Rob. Well, thank you. I work in mental health. I'm a peer counselor. That's somebody who uses their own experience with mental health to help other people navigate their challenges. I've been doing that for about 8 or 9 years. And during COVID, I lost my job 3 days before lockdown. So during lockdown, I figured out using Zoom and online technology how to transfer all the work I was doing online. And so that made me determined to find a way to start doing that for myself, like being self-employed, using that skill set. I'm also autistic, ADHD, gifted, neurodivergent is the term I prefer for the whole basket of it. And so I work mostly with that population. So I recently started my own practice serving neurodivergent. It's men's mental health in general, so all men, but with a particular focus in neurodivergent men.
Terrific. And you specifically work with men only, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And what made you go that route versus working with anybody? Is there a big difference between working with men in that area and working with women in that area?
To me, there is. I found that I'm just better working with men. I've noticed that women have different support needs, and I've watched other women help women out, and I've watched them do something that I know I don't know how to do. So I don't think I'm the best person to meet the needs of most of the women I encounter, because there's, especially when you factor in the neurodivergence or autism or anything like that. I know that I'm really good working with men, and I've seen a lot of people be a lot better at working with women than I am. So that was the main reason. I was just going where I can most be effective.
I think that's, we all niche to a certain degree, and I think that's great. So tell us, what are you doing for these people? What are you doing with them? How does your program work, and how does it differ from others out there?
Well, I think the population I work with is different. It's hard for us to find mental health support that really understands neurodivergence and our giftedness or any of the categories that falls under that. So I hear that all the time of how frustrated people are with their current therapist or their current providers and needing somebody that understands them kind of from the inside. So I do provide that. Right now I'm set up to do individual sessions, and one thing I think that maybe makes me stand out a little bit is my sessions are not hourly. They're as long as the session needs to last. Sometimes the really good work doesn't start until over an hour into the session. And so they're really intensive, very personalized and individualized. And I give them the time that it needs to do the work that we need to do. I also do groups, or I'm available to do groups. I don't currently have any groups, but once I have enough of a need for different groups, I'm able to do group facilitation. And then the other thing I do, which is really my true passion, is community building. So people that are trying to build I have a men's community tied to my practice, but outside of that, people that are trying to build communities of their own come to me, and I can help them tailor their community to their specific goals.
Interesting.
And I've been building a lot of virtual communities since COVID started. So that's like really my niche right now, is online virtual community building.
Okay. And when you're working with your clients, what is it that you work on? What are you trying to get from them? What are they trying to get from you? What are the specifics as far as what you all typically work on in that session?
Well, we're kind of looking at where they are and where they want to go. And it's a very collaborative process. My client is in the driver's seat. I'm there to help them achieve the goals that they set for themselves. And so we're looking at where they are currently and where they're trying to go. One thing I like to look at is their support system, because people like us, if we don't have the right support, it can make a difference. So I look at what good support is. What does their current support system look like? What are some ways we can add the right supports to help with whatever their goals are? Stuff like that. I do conflict resolution is another one of my favorite things to do. So if they're having interpersonal conflict with relationships, coworkers, employers, friends, whatever, I can help them troubleshoot and understand maybe the roots of the conflict and develop some strategies for how to resolve it in a healthier way.
And what age what age groups do you work with?
I work with all ages. I taught special ed for a few years, and I've worked in adolescent psych as well, inpatient for a year. So I have experience with the younger ages. Right now, I mostly work with adults because I am self-pay, and that's mostly the clients that come to me. But I would work with any age. That I always meet with the clients ahead of time. So I do have the free initial consultation, and I try to see if I'm even the right fit to try to help them. So any client that I thought that I would be helpful to, that's a fit, I would help. So I don't think I necessarily have an age restriction.
Okay.
I just happen to mostly work with adults because that's what I've been doing in my career.
And how do they find you?
I'm on a few kind of informal personal network site, like word of mouth. I have my own network I've built. I'm on a few like niche referral sites. I just made my Google business listing, so I am on Google now.
Okay.
And I don't know how people find me. Most of it's word of mouth or through my existing networks.
And so where do you see this? Where do you see this going? What is I know this is your personal business. You've been doing this for a long time. You've helped a lot of people. But as far as the personal business, where do you see this going? What's a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now look like for you and as far as the business is concerned?
My dream, if I could wave a magic wand and make it happen, is to have a international or global men's network with local chapters. It's a hybrid network of virtual like contact points and meeting spaces, and then local chapters for the different regions where there are enough members to get together and meet in person. And it's a support community. It's to connect. One thing that we struggle with is finding peers like ourselves that we can connect with, because we don't. A lot of people growing up take for granted that they get the appropriate mirroring from their peers because they're more or less similar to themselves, and we don't get that. So it's really hard for us to find the mirroring that we need to develop socially and intrapersonally. And so a lot of times some people may not get that until adulthood, sometimes not until they encounter me or some of my communities. And so developing a network where people can connect with others that are like themselves, that get each other, and can reflect back all of the divergence and eccentricities that they don't get reflected back to them from like ordinary society.
Well, if you can dream it, you can build it. So I own, like I said, I own 15 businesses, most of them in marketing. So as far as building an international network is concerned, it is doable. So don't downplay that goal. Just make it happen. So what does it look like if from your perspective now? What does that dream network look like?
It looks like men, more or less like myself, or the people I work with, finding each other and connecting and meeting each other and forming communities. Just like any other group, you have religious communities and networks. You have different political or identity-oriented communities. You have communities around sports or different activities or hobbies. I was part of a big outdoor hiking, camping community, and so you can form a community around anything that brings the people together and kind of they have a common thread to keep them together. And
what
so
would
in
you
this
call
case,
it?
I don't know. I chose Satyrs Grove initially because it was the idea of wild man out in the woods. I do a lot of work with like Robert Bly and Joseph Campbell from the 90s, and they had the wild man archetype. And so it was kind of a nod to that, and just, men kind of out in the woods being men and doing their thing. But I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, can't you start with a Facebook group, and obviously you'd have to have a description in there as to who that target market is, but can you start with something as simple as a Facebook group and start spreading it internationally?
Yeah, I do. I've had Facebook groups. My preferred platform right now is Discord. I have several groups on Discord that are growing. I'm on Twitter. I use Twitter a lot. I have a Twitter profile for my business. I made a Facebook profile. I've done Facebook groups in the past. I was also a meetup organizer. So that's another option, especially for organizing locally, because meetups kind of designed to facilitate in-person interaction.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean that's one way to at least start things off, and getting getting people in the same place and a group started. What are some of the sustainable and socially responsible practices of your business? What are you using? What are you doing to make it sustainable and socially responsible?
Well, I mean, I don't know what you mean by socially responsible, because it's on such an individual level, but I am responsible to my clients. As far as sustainable, it's because it's virtual and online, the overhead is very low. So it kind of sustains itself. There's monthly web hosting fees, Zoom fees, phone fees, internet fees, things like that. But there's really not a lot to sustain, because the work it's just interpersonal work done face to face, me with other people. It doesn't rely on a lot of external infrastructure.
And as far as the client is concerned, how long typically are they with you? How long is it a specific process time, or is it everybody's a little different? What's the time frame there?
Yeah, I'd say everyone's a little different. It's very individualized, so it's as long as it needs. Some people may need 4 sessions. Some people may need continuing, ongoing for as long as they need it.
Okay, and
it's goal based, so it's also built around their specific goals. If they have no more goals that they need help with, there may not be a reason to see me anymore until they have new goals.
Can you give us some examples of what those goals might look like?
Some of them are like employment goals, relationship goals. One thing we struggle with is kind of integrating into larger society. It's really hard for us to find our niche. Or a lot of us have strengths and skills, but we don't know how to put them to use in the existing kind of structures and institutions that are set up for a lot of normal people. So one thing I help them do is either figure out how to adapt themselves to an existing environment so they can actually be successful, or to do like I did and strike out on their own and find a way to use their unique skill profile in like self-employment.
Interesting. I met a couple a little while back, and they are starting what I call a social entrepreneurship program, and
Yes.
they are it's a business. It's an ice cream business, and they cater parties and events and that type of thing. They come to you, and those that are running it are all autistic, and they're teaching them again responsibility. They're teaching them. And my first question, I'm a serial entrepreneurial, so I have a spirit for entrepreneurship, and I asked them. I said, is part of the program teaching them to where they can own their own business? And the gentleman kind of looked at me and said, "Oh, I love that idea." And his adopted son is autistic, and I met him a couple of times. He's just so excited about what he's doing in this business and his place in the business and the responsibilities and all of that. And I just thought it was a really, really amazing program that they were doing, because you could just see they're young adults, but you could see just being given responsibility, the pride that they had in that, and the fact that they wanted to do so well and be successful in it and so forth. I just thought it was really cool. I don't know if you've come across programs like that in your work at all.
I think we need more of them. That has me very excited.
Yeah, I did when I was living in Atlanta, I was on the advisory board for the United Way to End Homelessness for vets, and it was kind of where I was introduced to, as a serial entrepreneur. I knew what an entrepreneur was, but social entrepreneurship, it was kind of a new term at the time for me. And as I call it, they were developing what I call the circle of life, where they are helping these vets, but they're doing it by working with existing businesses or creating new businesses that are all run and worked by the vets. So they're giving these vets jobs, and this could work for any category, including those that you're working with. They're giving them jobs, and the businesses are out in the world, so consumers are either buying their products or their services. So money's coming in, which goes again to fund helping, in this case, the vets or whatever. But it'd be really interesting to either partner with businesses or create businesses that are helping those with autism, with significant ADHD. Because as an entrepreneur, I don't know another entrepreneur that doesn't have ADHD. We all may have it in different degrees, but I personally think ADHD goes along with entrepreneurship, because we all seem to have it in one way or another. If I need to put something together, do not give me a manual. You're going to read it. You're going to tell me what to do. I will do it. I'll be more than happy to, but give me the cliff notes. I just, and every business owner I know is kind of in that boat. So, but it'd be really interesting to delve into that, where, again, either partnering with existing businesses or create, like they created a moving company, they created a lawn service. In this case, this gentleman created an ice cream company where they bought ice cream from another company. They white labeled to put it under their name, but that might be an interesting endeavor going forward at some point in time.
I would love that. I came across the term social engineer because some of the guys who started some of these men's groups consider themselves social entrepreneurs, and after reading it, it really resonated with me. So I guess I do kind of consider myself a social entrepreneur. And two of my
you absolutely
big
are
projects, yeah,
you absolutely are.
Well, two of my big projects that I would love to see happen is what you just described. Like back in the day, like the primitive day, early humans, the tribe would teach the next generation how to hunt and go out and get their food. And we need a modern version of that, where we teach people like ourselves how to go out there and secure livings for themselves. And so some kind of, whether it's an incubator or a job creation program or a business entrepreneurship program like you described. And the other one is a mentorship program, where you have individual mentors that you can match up with the younger generation and help them kind of navigate some of the unique challenges that people like us navigate, that they had as adults, that they could pass on to the next generation.
I think within your business, we hadn't spoken about this before, but maybe add to those that you've helped, ask them at the kind of towards the end of the program, would you be interested in being a mentor for other people? And if they are, maybe you add at no cost to them and one extra session that kind of goes through mentorship. So you're still helping them, but you're now building the next level of it to them. I was asked to do in a TED Talk, a big TED Talk up in St. Louis, Missouri, on social entrepreneurship, and the last thing I said in my speech was, in quoting Robin Williams from one of his movies, and I can't remember the name of the movie, but it was when he aged progressively faster than everybody else. I don't know if you ever saw it. It was a great movie. But he gave the commencement speech. Nobody liked him. He had no friends. He was bullied because he was different. But by the end of the movie, everybody just loved him. He's like 90 years old in what he looks like in society, but he just graduated high school. You should look at it. But the speech that he gave to the commencement was, go make your life spectacular. And what I said at the end of my speech was, quoting Robin Williams, go make your life spectacular, then go help somebody else make their life spectacular. So I think you have a huge opportunity to help those that really need it. And I love the idea. And I share this with entrepreneurs all the time, and I try to incorporate it in my business in ways as well as help somebody else make their dreams come true, make their lives come true. Maybe they can't afford to start a business, but maybe there's ways to promote your business or promote some of the things that you're doing where it's not costing them anything. Maybe it's making them money. Maybe it's giving them credit. Maybe it's just giving them responsibility. But I'm a big believer in helping others figure out and find ways to make their dreams come true as well.
Yes.
Because that's when life really turns magical, and that's when everything clicks. So I love the ideas that you're thinking about, and perhaps in the weeks to come or months to come, I'd be more than happy to, maybe we could talk it out a little bit, and I could share some ideas I have and see if I can help you at all as far as making some of those things come true. But I think that would be, particularly in the group that you're working with, I think that'd be amazing if you could take your students who need so much and then turn them into teachers and to mentors, and into those that now have responsibility and either are self-employed or are employed at all, but with some responsibility. I think that would just absolutely be perfect.
Definitely, let's talk, because right now I'm kind of set up to do solo, so it's all in finding the right collaborators. But when I have them, you're right, that is when the magic happens. And I have a community currently that most of my clients end up being part of, and it's through this community that I envision this larger network growing out of. So I would totally be willing to give a session or two to get someone on the path to mentorship.
And maybe, perhaps maybe once a month, the either the graduates of your program or the current, you've got a network of people that, are going through the same thing. Maybe once a month, do a Zoom where you bring on a guest that is, going through all the same things, and do a massive Zoom where you're kind of doing what I'm doing with you, is just having a discussion and finding out what they're doing, and let them kind of be the motivator and share some of the ideas that they have. And now you start bringing these things together, and make it partly where it's them, whether it's instructional, motivational, inspirational, whatever it is, and then maybe at the end, question and answer where people can kind of share their thoughts. I think that'd be a great way to kind of start this community together, and name it something. Name it, come up with a name for that Zoom, but come up with a name that you want to carry forward. So it's all about branding as well, whether it's your current name or whether you come up with something new. But that way it continues to grow, and incentivize them, not incentivize, but encourage them to share it with their friends and contacts going through the same issues, and see if you noticeably see that Zoom conference grow from 10 to 20 to 50 to, whatever you can get on Zoom. But I think that would be a really cool way to start it. It would cost zero money. And I think the guests would be thrilled to come on there.
I like your ideas. I'm really trying to grow this community because I think once it gets to a certain scale, that all of those ideas are going to be possible.
And I think, business people like myself, entrepreneurs in general, it doesn't have to be somebody that's has, as you call it, what is it called?
Neurodivergent. Diverging from.
Neurodiverging. Doesn't have to be somebody going through that. It could be somebody in business or in other areas that you think might be of interest that, just help motivate your group and your community to take that next step, whatever it may be, either going out and looking for a job. Because I know many people with autistic children that are now grown that still have not ever gone out and searched for a job. They haven't gotten to that point. And I know many with ADHD that struggle with, communication and relaxation and just presenting themselves and having a good conversation. Just finding business people in different areas that talk to them about, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be you. You need to be you, but here's some of the things maybe that you can work on, or here's some of the things that may be required in business that you might want to think about, that type of thing, or whatever it may be. So I think that'd be a very cool idea, and I would be the first one to jump on and say I would volunteer absolutely to get on a Zoom conference with your community and just have a conversation about entrepreneurship and working and responsibility and really achieving your dreams. That's my passion. So tell me some of the pitfalls so far. Tell me some of the setbacks since you've started the business. Because
right now the biggest setback I would say is getting the clients. Like I knew it was going to be a slow build, like the long game, but when I started it, but it turned out to be a lot slower than I realized. So I feel like I've built the car, it's in the driveway, but it's ready to go somewhere, and it's just kind of idling. So it's really growing the client base right now is much more of a challenge than I thought it would be, because I know there's such a need right now for men's mental health in general, and then for this specific population within men's mental health. But it's just it's connecting what I do, what I have to offer with the people that need it, and that's the piece I haven't really figured out where they are.
Have you struck up any relationships with doctors that work with that particular group? That would be a good start.
There's some local networking. There's like an ADHD clinic in Seattle, I believe, and there's a community, like a grassroots community. So there's some local networking I could probably do. It's hard to do that kind of networking online. I have gone to a few events and Zooms for ADHD, autism, and you make the connections when and where you can.
Okay. Well, it's funny, not funny, but when I was growing up, when I was a kid, I never heard the word autism before. It was I don't know when. Really? I honestly don't know when it started. But it is very prevalent out there. I have several friends that have autistic children, and I think just speaking out on that and getting your word out there, doing videos on social media, and just sharing tips, not sales. You're not selling yourself, but tips on things to do and sharing some successes. I think, if I saw somebody sharing that on my social media, I would send it off and share it to those that I knew had autistic children or that were involved in autism. So I think just get your word out there and kind of preach your own gospel as far as what you're doing and how you're helping people. And I think I think that'll go a long way. If there's any particular doctors, medical doctors that work in that particular field, I don't know what category that would be. I think it'd be worth having conversations with and just start doing a little research on local autism, because it really is getting out there significantly. I see it all the time, and it's, I'm thrilled that, that there's now people that are sort of getting off the bench and coming to help. So I think just keep getting the word out there would be a great start. But we talked about setbacks or whatever. Tell me a success story that just absolutely blew you away in one of your works. Obviously, we're not sharing names or anything like that, but describe the situation if you can. That just blew you away.
Like with a client?
With a client, yeah.
Blew me away. I think, and this is in my previous job, not necessarily my current practice, but I worked at a disability agency as one of them, and a lot of things we did was employment. And I'm a big advocate of self-employment. Like, I will help them try to fit into the current box to the extent they can, but not at the price of compromising who they are too much. So a lot of time that ends up routing them into self-employment. So watching somebody either get employed or develop some kind of self-employment idea and take off and run with it, I'd say are my biggest success stories or inspirations.
Do you have a particular client that you can think of that just came to you with real struggles and walked away with something that just absolutely blew you away?
I had one client. She was really bright, super nice person, fun person, great to hang out with, but she had a lot of social challenges around social awareness, and a lot of social awkwardness. And I watched her. She was so passionate about getting a job at a hospital, just helping the patients or the people that wheel them around in the wheelchairs and answer questions for patients coming in, just kind of that kind of job. And she tried over and over, I went to interviews with her. I've watched her go from hospital to hospital, and I knew she could do the job. I knew it was like these perceptual barriers on the part of the hospital staff and the interviewers that were getting in her way. And eventually, after 7 or 8, 9 or 10 tries, maybe, she really stuck with this because she was so determined she finally got a position at one of the hospitals.
Wow.
And she loved it. She has so much passion for this job. And it's a job that most people would consider low level, entry level, a stepping stone to some other career. She puts her whole soul into it. She takes it so serious. She loves it. She wakes up in the morning excited to go to it. And just watching that light, it really brought out the light in her. So watching her persist after no, after no, after no, after no, and continue to hang on to this goal and continue to pursue it and then finally achieve it, and the light that it brought out of her. That's a memory that stays with me from that job.
Well, you can tell me whether you agree or not, but it is so noticeable when you find anybody in any level of work that takes such passion in what they're doing. It's noticeable. I was sharing just the other day with somebody. I was in Atlanta airport, I don't know, it was a number of years ago. And if you've ever been at Atlanta airport, they have all these restaurants and then they have all the tables kind of in the middle. So you can go pick up your food and you eat at one of the tables. And there was a young teenager there. I would say he was somewhere 17, 18 years old, somewhere in that ballpark. And he was washing down the tables. That was his job. He had a towel and he was cleaning off the tables. And this kid took such pride in what he did. I was watching. I was watching him for 20 minutes before I said anything to him. Big smile on his face. He greeted anybody that was about to sit at the table. Hold on. Let me get it all cleaned off for you. He took such pride in that work. I asked him to come over, and I just wanted to find out, who he was and what he was looking to do. And he was, he didn't know that he he didn't think he could get into college because he didn't have the money to. And I said, I got to tell you what, I said, in all my years, you probably have stuck out more to me than anyone I've ever seen doing a, job that most people would. I said it in a nice way. I don't remember exactly how I said it. And that was kind of at the lower end of the totem pole. He says, this is not my dream, but you know what? I just love doing my job and doing good work for people. And I said, that's going to take you everywhere. I said, you will succeed. I promise you. I gave him a big financial tip because I just wanted to really show him that I thought so much about what he was doing, and just seeing the pride and I saw it in that child that was going to take over the ice cream business, the autistic child, that he just took so much pride that he had responsibility. Somebody gave him responsibility to serve other people. It wasn't about him. It was about other people, just like this kid in the airport. So, I think that's a great story you came up with. And I think you're going to start seeing more of these, and maybe create a, even if you create a Facebook group with the people that you're working with or graduates that can share their stories, and encourage them to share their successes after working with you. Just anything. Hey, I had a great day. I got to do this. Maybe with a video, maybe them on a video telling it, or whatever it may be, and let people start seeing that. Other kids start seeing that, or grown men start seeing that.
That's what I try to do. We need model. People need to see people like ourselves. That's why I put myself. I'm on YouTube and podcasts, and I'm putting myself out there to show. Look, I was one of, especially parents. I was one of these kids. I'm the adult version of the kid that you're struggling with right now. That you wonder if there's hope for their future. I was one of those people. I'm fine. And let other people like myself see that you can be successful. You can integrate into society. There is a place for you in the world. A lot of us run off of intrinsic motivation. We have the hyper focus or the special interest. So when that passion is activated in us, you're going to get the world out of us. We don't need a lot of external incentives. If you just put us in the right spot and give us the support we need to pursue that passion, you're going to get a return tenfold what you put into us.
I definitely could see that. And maybe on one of your sessions, I don't know, I'm just throwing out ideas, but maybe one of the sessions, if they're, maybe, or say for the next session, bring your cell phone to it, and maybe just have them go on their cell phone, click, again, depending on people's capabilities, but I think at least most of the ones that I have met that are, that are able to go out there and get a job if there was an opportunity to, I'm sure handle their cell phones as well as anybody does, is maybe just as a way for them to see themselves, is say, okay, next session, we're going to use our cell phones and we're going to share one of our highlights for the week. Or maybe we do it every session. It takes 2 seconds. And then when they do it and they see it, and they're like, oh my gosh, share it on your social media, and then get them to start share it on your social media in your group, and maybe start that way. I don't know. It's just an idea.
I love your ideas.
What's that?
I love your ideas.
I just, to me in this particular field, I think video is king, because you can talk about people. I don't know what's politically correct, and I apologize for my ignorance there. To me, I don't consider it a disability, because honestly, some of the most amazing people I've ever met, and when I say people, I mean people in here, are those with autism, with Downs, with some other issues that they're going through, but as people, they are the most amazing people. So I don't know, I don't consider it a disability. It may be a challenge, but I think those of us that maybe others would say are normal probably have more disabilities in us than others. I just find in the heart, it just consistently just have really quality hearts out there, and it's, to me, telling their story, the best way is video. It's we can talk about it, but when it's shared on video, when we can show success stories, when they can share their emotions and share their successes and share their tragedies and setbacks, that's where the rest of us, get emotionally involved and say, we want to help. So I don't know. I as a marketing person, the more you can get video involved in what you're doing as far as bringing people together, I think will get the rest of the world, one, more informed, and two, more emotionally tied to what you're trying to achieve and what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah, I kind of do that now on my podcast. For May was Mental Health Month, so I had a different mental health topic a day for the 31 days, and a lot of it was guests coming on, opening up about their own mental health, telling their stories. There's so many times when I'm on a group, and because they're confidential, I really can't, but I've wanted to record just a fragment of. I feel like if people could just get a little window into what we're capable of, what we're doing, or the kind of work or the conversations we're having, just a little window into it. I kind of want to be able to show the world a glimpse into what actually goes on in a session, or what actually goes on in a group, or what actually goes on in our community. And people have told me, like a few of them, that one day they'd give me permission, like in the right circumstance, perhaps we could record here and there. But I do have the podcast where people can come on and have the kind of conversations you described.
It'd be really interesting, and this just popped in my head, and I've never had this thought, but I think in what you're trying to do, I think it'd be really cool, is writing a book, but it's all video. It's like It's like taking each person in the community is taking a piece of it, maybe their entire story, or maybe a piece of the story. So the book is written, but it's written in a way where it's all coming across as video and spoken, rather than a I don't know. In my head, it looks different than what I'm portraying it, I think. But I think that'd be really cool, where you're kind of telling one story, but you're telling it through the story of 10, 20, 50, 100 people. That I think that would be really cool. And to be able to then get it out to those facilities, hospitals that are working with autistic younger children, and kind of make it from a start to finish, where you're working with as adults, but now you've got the insights to be able to share a lot of wisdom and a lot of ideas that would be beneficial to those in their early years that are just kind of starting their story. That would be an interesting concept from your perspective, because you're actually the first individual I've met that is working with specifically autistic men. Everybody that I've ever met is working mostly with children, to tell you the truth. It seems to be the focus is on the children, but I think the insight and all the learning lessons are going to come from the adults that have already gone through a big chunk of their story, and now you're able to sort of take them from that struggle to kind of over the wall, I guess. And it would be really cool to be able to bring that back around and use your insights to start helping with little children that are going through that stage at an early age.
That's what I'm trying to do. You asked about setbacks. One of the big challenges, we have an experiential wisdom that comes from actually being that neurotype and having to deal with the challenges. But a lot of the experts and the authorities that study this are not autistic themselves, and everyone defers to the clinical expertise of the researchers, and our voice, our experiential voice, gets lost. And it's really hard. I don't know why, but it's really hard. This happens in mental health too, not just autism. People with actual mental health challenges, people living through depression, are struggling with PTSD. Those voices get deprioritized in the face of the researchers and the clinical voices. And so that's what I'm trying to do, is trying to get that voice of lived experience out there to add to the conversation and to help guide and frame some of the research for the future. But getting people to listen to the story from the inside is a real challenge, especially when there's a strong bias against scientific expertise and clinical research.
Well, I will tell you this. I will make an introduction. One of our previous episodes was with a lady who has a group together. She's working with mostly autistic children, and she's got a program together. They come in there, and her big focus is on reputation. She finds that most of these children, they want to present themselves as a certain way, but in many cases they're sabotaging themselves. Like what she's found is they want to really come across as smart. So many of them, what they do is they will correct everybody when somebody says something. So they're sabotaging. Instead of coming across smart, they're coming across as a smart ass, as she put it. Annoying. Nobody likes to be corrected all the time. So is one of the things that she's doing is she is kind of teaching and helping them see that everything they do, and from what they say, their actions or whatever, is dictating their reputation. And she is helping these children go from not having any friends in school, because many of them, particularly children, they become friends with people that are like them. And the children that she's working with don't have children that are like them in their schools. And she's showing them how all of their interaction or whatever is building that reputation. And she was telling me huge success stories about how these children had no friends to they're like one of the most popular kids, and everybody's always asking about them. So I would like to connect the two of you, because she only really works with children. And, who knows what would come of it, but I think the discussion would be really interesting. I think she would get a lot of insights from you, because you've lived what she is teaching these kids through.
She sounds like someone I met recently.
She's in Texas.
This might be her. Is it San Antonio area?
Yes, Steph.
Okay, I think she contacted me because she has a podcast, and she wanted to talk about the exact topic that you just described.
Okay.
If it's the same person.
I'm sure it is, because I found her in a podcasting group. So yes, very nicely. And you haven't talked to her yet?
Well, we had a little conversation, but then it I don't know what happened.
Well, I'm going to send her an email that you and I spoke, okay. And that
if it's the same person, I watched some of her videos, and you're right, I am very interested.
Yeah, I think you all could have very mutual insights as to what you're doing, and I love that idea of kind of, again, the circle of life is, they're starting out as little kids. You're getting them when they've already kind of gone through a good chunk of their journey, which would then influence all of the little kids. I mean, so it could really be this entire circle of insight, which I think would be invaluable. I personally have never seen that. I
didn't have anybody like me growing up. I had to blaze my own trail. I had to get the machete out and chop through all this by myself with my own guidance. And so if I could ease the path or put them on a path or whatever, or give them wisdom or guidance, I would love to do that.
Give them things to think
that,
about.
I think would have.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Just missing that in my own life, like I try to imagine what my life would be if I had had something like that. versus what I was able to do on my own. And so if I can make someone else's life just a little bit easier.
Just giving them insights as to what might happen or what to look out for, or when they see that, it correlates to this. My understanding in all the conversations I've had of people that work with the children, it's in most cases they don't correlate one thing with another. They may know this is right, they may know this is wrong, but they're not correlating when they're doing something wrong. It's relating to, one, their reputation, with kids, their reputation with students or whatever. That was kind of the common thing that I've heard from many people is they may know things individually, but they're not correlating how this is affecting this area of their life, or this is affecting this area of their life. And I think your insights could open that door to that. And again, as you said, everybody that I've ever met that's working with autistic kids, let's just say, leave it to the autistic kids, not so much the ADHD, don't have autism.
It's understanding it from the kid's point of view. And if you don't have that, it's harder to imagine what's going on in their head. And the thing you said about correlating everything does resonate with me.
Yeah,
I think that is one of the things I struggle with.
It's interesting, and if you're still struggling as an adult, that's an interesting fact, because I would have envisioned that at some point in time, children outgrow things, but maybe they don't.
Not if it's neurodevelopmental and brain structure and all of that. But I will say, I think I've gotten better. I'm better now than I was maybe as a teenager. There's definitely some progress and improvement.
Well,
but the fundamental structure of the brain, it's if that's your default, you kind of have to work with it and like recognize the limitations and work with it and have it be a strength somehow.
Yeah, I had somebody on my podcast, and her whole theory was soul DNA. People talk about overcoming obstacles and challenges like hostility or anxiety or other things. Her theory was, what if we were born with it? What if it's part of our soul? And as you just stated, instead of overcoming it, is work with it. Turn it into a positive rather than a negative.
That is definitely my approach.
Which is really interesting, because you're coming from a completely different insight on it than she is. You're coming at from the neurodivergency. She's coming at from it, just people in general. But it's amazing how much I'm learning in these podcasts, that almost everything relates to almost all of us in one way or another. I mean, it things that you're dealing with adults with autism and ADHD are also affecting people of all sorts of other categories, just in different ways. And I'm finding out that in these discussions, it's really insightful. When it comes to children,
community is mixed. There's neurotypical and neurodivergent, and I like that combination. I think we have a lot to learn from each other. I think people like me can learn from neurotypical men, and I think neurotypical men can learn from autistic and ADHD people. So I like having those blended communities. I think underneath we're all people. We're not a different species.
Exactly. Exactly. And again, all of these challenges, I've heard it in 4 different discussions, a little point of a couple of the challenges, and they all affected different types of people in maybe different ways, but it was still the same challenge. It was really interesting to me, because some challenges you think are specific to that type of group of person, whether it's a male, a female, young, old, autistic, not autistic. It's their challenge, but it's not. It's these challenges will pop up for all of us, but in just different ways, and we're dealing with different ways. But I think if we can share and communicate how we're dealing with them, we will see I think we'll see people in a whole different light. We'll see each other in a whole different light. Really interesting. This conversation's got a whole different way than I envisioned it would, and that was kind of the nature of what I wanted this podcast to do. So we're coming down to the last couple of minutes. Tell me something that's inspiring you to really, run with this and make this what you'd really want it to do and make it what you have dreamt about it. What's going on?
Well, I was going to say this conversation was very inspirational for me today. Hearing some of your ideas. What really inspires me is seeing the growth, like starting the practice or starting these communities and watching them grow, watching them benefit other people, watching new people come in and watching them grow. That's really what inspires me. Like, I'm Cajun, and I've always said Cajuns like nothing better than to bring people together to have a good time. And when I can bring people together and see those connections happen, that is just what feeds my soul.
Well, I think I think we'll end on that. I think that's a great inspiration for all of us, and hopefully we can all aspire to do the exact same thing. Jeff, it's been a real pleasure having you on here. I wish you great success in what you're doing. Again, I will be the first one to volunteer if there's anything that I can do to help, but I'm definitely going to send an email to Steph and rekindle that relationship, because I think you all, between the two of you, both of you are doing amazing things, and I think together, we'll even discover more of what you're able to do. Anything else you want to share? Tell the audience how they can reach you. What's your website?
It's Satyr's Grove, SATYRSGROVE.com. I also have a YouTube channel. It's my YouTube name is Gen X Jeff, because I'm Generation X. I think the actual name is Primal Hex, PRIMALHEX at YouTube. I'm also on Twitter under the same name.
And for those listening, if you know of anybody that hits Jeff's target market, reach out to him, kind of share it with him, or have them reach out to him. He's doing amazing things. And for those that would love to get involved and help, maybe make some of these ideas that we shared today come true, please reach out to Jeff. Or you can reach out to me at the podcast, at the link below the podcast, and I'd be more than happy to facilitate things. I thank you for all that you're doing and the impact that you're making on the world, and you truly are a hero in business for the work that you've done, the work you're doing now, and I see the work that you've got ahead. So thank you very much, and keep doing your thing. And everybody watching, be a hero in your own business, be a hero in your own community, and I'd love to have you on the show as well. So thank you all, and have a incredible week.
Okay. Thank you, Rob.